Chapter 4. Congressman Crockett. Davy often went to Nashville, the capital of Tennessee. In Nashville, he worked for the Tennessee government. One day, while Davy was working for the Tennessee government, a big flood destroyed his mill. This was terrible. He was very unhappy because he'd lost a lot of money. When he returned to Lawrenceburg, he started a new type of work. This time, he made barrels. He sold these barrels in New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans was about 400 miles away. To go to New Orleans, he traveled on the Mississippi River. He had a big boat to carry the barrels. It was difficult to travel on the Mississippi River. There were many dangers. One day, his boat had a bad accident. It began to sink. Davy almost drowned. He lost his boat and his barrels, but he didn't lose his life. In 1827, there was a big election in Tennessee. Davy Crockett became a United States congressman. This was a great honor for him. In the United States Congress, he represented the people of Tennessee. He traveled to Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States. Davy was very happy to be a congressman. He wanted to help his people. There were congressmen who wanted to take land away from the Fox Indians of Tennessee. Davy protected these Indians. He fought against dishonest congressmen.
The Fox Indians cannot live without their land,
Davy shouted.
I must defend all the American people of Tennessee, the whites and the Indians.
After months of hard work, Davy was not able to help the Fox Indians. The U.S. Congress made a law that took away land from the Indians. Davy was very angry. He hated injustice. In 1835, he left the U.S. Congress. Chapter 5. Texas. In 1835, the Crockett family left Tennessee. They put all their things in a big covered wagon, and they traveled for many days. They finally arrived in Texas. At that time, Texas belonged to Mexico. At first, the Mexican government was happy with the American settlers. They cultivated the land. Many settlers went to Texas because land was very cheap. With a little money, a settler bought a lot of land. More and more Americans went to Texas. There were about 20,000 American settlers in eastern Texas. There were only 5,000 Mexicans. The Mexican government did not like this. There were too many Americans. Mexico decided to close its borders. The American settlers were very angry. In 1834, the Mexican general Santa Anna became the dictator of Mexico. He was a cruel man. He sent his soldiers to the Mexican border. He did not want the American settlers to enter Mexico. By 1834, there were more than 30,000 Americans living in Texas. They wanted Texas to be an independent American state. They did not want to live under a cruel Mexican dictator. Davy and his family now lived in Texas. They were happy in their new home. They wanted the independence of Texas, too. One day, Davy heard that the Mexicans wanted to attack Fort Alamo. The Alamo was a Spanish church and fort near San Antonio in western Texas. There were Texans and American soldiers at Fort Alamo. There were also women and children at the fort. War was in the air. Davy knew he must fight for the independence of Texas. Chapter 6. Fort Alamo. Davy asked other American settlers to go to the Alamo with him. Few men wanted to fight, but this did not stop Davy. He and 15 men decided to go to the Alamo. They were ready to fight the Mexicans. Colonel Travis opened it. He read it aloud. "You must destroy the Alamo and come with my army. General Santa Anna will attack the Alamo soon. General Sam Houston." "What?" said Colonel Travis. "I don't want to destroy the Alamo. I want to defend it." Colonel Bowie said,
"We cannot defend the Alamo. We must have more men."
In February 1836, Davy Crockett and his men arrived at the fort. Colonel Travis was happy to see them. He asked Davy and his men to defend the Alamo. "We don't have many men," said Colonel Travis. "We must ask for more soldiers. I am sending a messenger to General Fannin. He can send us more soldiers." Davy said,
My men and I want to defend the Alamo. We are hunters and trappers. Our long rifles can shoot at a great distance.
Davy Crockett and Jim Bowie became good friends. Together they repaired the walls of the fort. They cleaned the rifles and the cannons. They were ready for the battle. Chapter 7. The Red Flag. One morning a messenger arrived.
I have a message from General Fannin. He is very sorry he cannot send any soldiers. You must leave the Alamo now. General Santa Anna is near. You are all in danger.
"We don't want to leave the Alamo,"
said Jim Bowie.
"We want to fight for the independence of Texas." "How many soldiers has General Santa Anna got?"
He's got about 4,000 soldiers,
said the messenger. Colonel Bowie looked at Colonel Travis. "We must speak to our men," said Colonel Travis.
"Yes,"
said Bowie.
"We must speak to them."
Colonel Travis called his 187 men. He said sadly, "General Santa Anna is coming to attack us. He has about 4,000 soldiers and lots of ammunition. We have only 187 men and little ammunition. We have little food and water. Remember, there are women and children in the fort." Then he marked a line on the ground with his sword. "Those who want to fight for the independence of Texas, cross this line. The others can leave the fort and go home." There was a very long silence. Davy thought about his wife and his 5 children. Then he thought about the independence of Texas and the American settlers. He thought about a new American state, Texas. All the men crossed the line. These men wanted to defend the Alamo. These men wanted an independent Texas. On February 23rd, 1836, General Santa Anna and his army arrived. He sent a messenger to the Alamo. He wanted the people in the Alamo to leave. The men in the Alamo answered with a cannon shot. They did not want to leave. They did not want to return to the United States. General Santa Anna was furious. He showed a red flag. The red flag meant no prisoners. He wanted to kill everyone in the fort. On February 24th, 1836, General Santa Anna's army attacked the Alamo. The Mexicans had an enormous cannon. It shot a cannonball that damaged a wall of the fort. Davy said,
"We must destroy that cannon. It can destroy the walls of our fort."
That night, Davy and Jim Boyd left the fort. They went to the Mexican camp. Everyone in the camp was sleeping. Davy and Jim silently passed behind the two Mexican guards. They put mud and stones in the enormous cannon. Then they returned to the Alamo. The next morning, the Mexican army used the cannon. It exploded. The Mexicans were very surprised. Their enormous cannon was destroyed. The men in the Alamo killed many Mexican soldiers. The Mexican army attacked many times during the day, but the Texans and the American army defended the Alamo.